right. Well, he took my introduction, so I guess I'll get started. I am Mary Jo Lang. I am the Director of Public Works and the City Engineer for this fine city of Cudahy. Joining with me and who put this presentation together, very talented staff, is Tim Burkle from my engineering staff and Ryan Schmidt. So Ryan is kind of the guru of this presentation. So anyways, you're here, and what we're trying to do here is, a lot of times we engineers put a plan set together, it's two-dimensional, and we try to get that across to the public, and everyone wants to know what it's going to look like. And I'm happy to say I've been doing this for 30 years, and of late we are actually able to take those plans and put them into a 3D drawing. And so you will, at the end of our presentation, see a 3D drawing like you're a bird flying through a reconstructed Packard Avenue. But before we start that, we're going to go over a couple things: the project scope and description, obviously, and the elements of the streetscape, the visual presentation as I'm talking about, and looking ahead. So for the project scope and description, location, we're actually from Holmes to Cudahy Avenue will be a full-blown reconstruction. When I say reconstruction, it's face a building to face a building. Everything's going to be removed, everything's going to be replaced. That means trees, curb and gutter, pavement, sidewalk, you name it, it's going to be replaced. We will be putting in new benches, planters, street light poles, signal lights. So it'll look like a disaster area. I'll go to the next slide for a while. And then the other extent of the project is what we call a mill and overlay. That section's from Pulaski to Holmes. That will only get, that won't get many of the streetscaping items. It's just the pavement's in kind of poor shape, and we want to kind of pull that in. That will be done a long time from now, the reconstruction of that. And then there are 3 side streets that are also going to be reconstructed. You can see them there. If anyone believes that they shouldn't be reconstructed, raise your hand because they're in pretty pathetic shape. That being Barnard Avenue, Squire Avenue, and Monkwitz. The extent of that will be from Packard to the alley. Those will be reconstructed. This is probably, this was taken during our utility construction. I hate to tell you, but it's going to look worse than this. It will. So because the road won't be there. Fortunately, we have gravel base because of the utility construction, but essentially kind of get an idea that from the building face to building face, a lot of the pavement, we'll try to keep it intact as much as possible to get people into the businesses, and we might have temporary stuff, but it's all going to get removed. So it will probably look, I hate to say it, worse than this.
Really quick, one thing, I did get a call earlier today from one of the business owners. They were worried about, once we do remove that sidewalk, how are their customers going to get into their place of business? So we talked about this. We're probably going to have to either do it in-house in our own DPW, or if the contractor can do it, we'll have the contractor do it, but create like a temporary step out of wood. So.
Right. To get them out. Prior to the street reconstruction, we still have to do some finishing touches on the utilities. When we did the work back 2 and 3 years ago, the extent of the project was only supposed to go up to Plankington. What occurred was, when we were doing the actual design, we realized that we couldn't match the new elevation of the roadway with the existing going north. So we had to actually go to Cudahy in order to make it, Cudahy Avenue in order to make it match. Well, the original utility work didn't include the sanitary relay. It included the sanitary relay, but not the water relay and the laterals. So that will be done. Our policy now, when we do a full reconstruction like this, we replace the infrastructure underneath it. The infrastructure is as old, if not older, than the pavement. So we have to do that in that area. We also have to do some miscellaneous catch basin work to tie in with some of our stormwater quality elements that you will see later. So elements of the streetscape, we'll go over the materials that we're going to use, the layout, the patterns, colors, and the designs. We are going to be going with curb and gutter. We are going with asphalt pavement, and a lot of people want to know, why are we going with the black stuff instead of the white stuff? Well, the reason being is because if you haven't noticed, a lot of buildings are coming down in the downtown section. And in order to redevelop, they have to put in updated fire protection. That requires a main size that we can't guess. We have big water main in Packard, but there's a pipe that has to run from the main in Packard out to the building. That size for fire flow, that can be anywhere from 4 inches to 12 inches. So depending upon the development. So when the development comes in and they start building these new buildings, they are going to be making cuts into the pavement. We don't want to put an expensive pavement like concrete down, only to have it all cut up for new development. So asphalt, it will be sustainable, and we can mill and overlay it, and the base underneath it is going to support all the trucking traffic that goes through there. At the bus stops where we typically rut, and at the intersection of Layton, we will be using concrete so that we don't have some of the problems that you usually have with rutting with asphalt pavement. And then we are going to be going with decorative concrete. However, we are not going to use the, as they call it, Wisconsin red. Wisconsin red turns into Wisconsin pink, as you see. It's a very hard color to maintain, and we are going to go with what's called a gray slate stamped concrete. The darker color will actually shadow many of the buildings, the street lights, the asphalt pavement, and it will also tie in with the, as I call it, the stark white pavement. And if you look here, you have the little thing. The black, so the 1x1 stamped slate concrete, that will be along this edge in the small cross-hatched area. Now we will go with the 2x2 white concrete panel, which is typically your sidewalk area. And then at the corners, we're tying in the handicap ramps with black, what they call truncated domes. Those are those things for handicap access. And then we will have a 4x4 white panel concrete. So it'll kind of look a little bit like a checkerboard, black and white, but it should complement everything out there. This is a similar look. This was taken, I believe Seattle's business district has something similar to this, so we were trying to look for something. So you can see we'll be unique because there isn't anything like this in Wisconsin. At the pedestrian crossings, which is very important because we have a lot of pedestrians out there, we will be using what they call a continental crossing. It's very highlighted. On the black pavement, on the asphalt pavement, it'll really stick out there so people will be able to see those pedestrian crossings. Pedestrian crossings will be marked at locations, at intersections, but not every crosswalk at every intersection will be marked with a crosswalk. So, and the reason for that is because we want to highlight only one crossing. If you've ever driven down a street, and like at a T intersection, a main road, and they have all these crossings on them, it just starts to blend in. So we're not going to do that. We are only going to put one crossing in on some of the streets that don't have signal lights or are uncontrolled. We are putting a bike lane in there. There's a lot of controversy about this. We did get requests, and we are taking a small amount of federal funds from the state, and they require a bike lane. And after we looked into this, we can fit it in, and we hope to connect it to KK. KK is very wide. We're hoping to take it all the way. KK down in the View and Milwaukee area has a bike lane, so we think it would be a good tie-in to that bike lane. And obviously, if you want to, bike lanes Anybody that doesn't understand bike lanes, why we're putting it in, these are a few points. We will have accommodations for bikes. There'll be the smaller to my left, there'll be a smaller bike rack stationed here and there. And in front of South Shore Cyclery, and hopefully they stay with Cutting A, we are planning on putting a lot larger bike rack for them. We are going to keep the same look of our black poles. However, our black poles are, or our blue poles are in very bad shape. So we are going from blue to black, and we are going to be using an aluminum pole because the current steel poles are very rusted.
We actually even started this process already. We purchased blue aluminum poles, and we've actually dealt with a company out of Racine that is repainting our aluminum ones. So they're blasting them down and repainting them, and it's turned out really nice. We've used it on King and Avenue, and now we're starting to do the poles on KK also.
Right. We are also at the intersection of Packard and Layton, which is a Milwaukee County intersection. We are working with Milwaukee County. The signals will be revamped, all new signal equipment, and they will be operated by cameras. We will also have arms out so that the signal lights go over the driving lane, so you can see those signal lights instead of out. Because a lot of times when the bus is parked there, you can't see that signal to the right. They will also be push button operated, ADA accessible. But the reason behind the push button is because a lot of times if there isn't a pedestrian, you time a signal light for that pedestrian. Well, you're holding up traffic unnecessarily if there's no pedestrian there. So the pedestrian will have to push the button to get the walk signal. Now, going to our bioretention basins. You'll see this in many downtown areas now. We have to meet stormwater quality through our MS4 permit, and it's very hard in a fully developed urbanized area. So what many people are doing is putting in these small, what they call bioretention bioswales in. These are the type that we are going to be using. What happens is the water from the curb and the sidewalk goes in through a curb opening, goes down into a a concrete box as I call it, and there's a filtering system in there. There's sand, there's loam type of material, there's gravel, and it filters through, and on the bottom of that, there's about six feet or so, and on the bottom of that is a pipe that collects the water and takes it to the storm sewer. And that's basically a lot cleaner water than what just directly comes off the sidewalk or the street. The water that we collect on the street, the storm water, goes directly into Lake Michigan. So it's very important that we try to get as much, pardon the expression, crap out of it before it goes into the water. And we have more information on our website on the bioswales. The first year that we do the plantings, they will probably look kind of sparse, but in a couple years, it'll look very, very green. The plantings that we are picking are plants that do very well with a very saline salt type environment. We actually are blessed that we have an individual on the north side of our city who is a water quality specialist and is volunteering to help us do the planting and do the maintenance on some of this stuff, show the DPW how to do the maintenance. So, all right, well, benches and receptacles, the ones that we have out there were installed in 2001. Fortunately, they're made out of steel. We use a lot of salt out there, and they're rotting. They're basically rotting. So we are going to replace them, and with a more sustainable type material. Yeah, you just have to get that. We also picked, the type of receptacle we picked was one that my DPW crew just has to pull out instead of lifting. If anybody realized how terrible it is to lift that thing out there. So we're going to go with that. Now, with this, the idea, the thought behind the benches and the receptacles, because they're very expensive, is to put out there, if anyone is interested, whether it's a business, whether it's a family, whether it's in memory of a loved one, It can be a living memory, whatever. They can donate money to purchase a bench or a receptacle. And we're gonna have that on our website, and then we would make the placard and stick it on that bench or receptacle that is donated by this family in memory of so-and-so. So that will be on our website, and hopefully we'll get people who like to do that, yes.
If people want to donate more money, is it possible for them to go with different seating or something more interactive, or are we just going with strictly standard stuff that you have? Like, say if someone wanted to be more creative with the seating, if money provided, so to speak.
I don't know, we didn't think of that.
Yeah, I don't think I've ever thought about that.
The purpose.
Well, I mean, not necessarily. I mean, but
Yeah.
Something a little bit more creative, something that when people are going by, that's just not a bench, something that engages them a little bit more.
I think if they have something unique, we would certainly
I think we'd entertain
that.
it, yeah.
Yeah.
As long as it fits in with the rest of the going overall look, some comes
Yeah,
with
I
it.
mean, I would assume it'd have to go maybe through
Yeah, a purple bench, well, yeah, it's not gonna work out very well, but.
design review or something like that, so make sure that it fits within.
Right.
I think we could.
Or if they have some art they want to donate or something
Well,
like
that's,
that.
I was kind of thinking something more
Certainly.
artistic.
Yep,
There'll be
certainly.
spaces along like our parkway too that'll be open, instead of maybe putting a trash can somewhere there or a
Yep.
planter, we can put, say, like if it's different, like a fancy planter that blends in with everything, or another type of, like you said, art piece or
Yep.
whatever it may be, so it might all blend in.
You'll see that in a little bit in the 3D renderings. You'll see there's a lot of space. So.
Right. And yes, we are bringing back the hanging planters. We actually got as many positives as negatives, and this is a way to color up the downtown and make good use of the airspace. We're also going with planters, and there'll be a coppery kind of color, and just to add that splash of color that are probably theme-based. And then we are going with some urban acceptable trees. There are 3 out there that don't get very large and we don't have such problems with pruning or the large trucks going through or the buses knocking into them. So.
And we are not going with tree grades.
No.
Just
No tree
go back a
grades.
slider, but some people don't even know what a tree grade is, but that's the cast iron piece down here with the tree guard around it. Every community that puts them in, they become litter collectors. They're full of garbage underneath, and it's just the maintenance of pulling those things. And South Milwaukee just put them in only 4 or 5 years ago, and
Right.
trees are outgrowing them. The roots are popping them up. I mean, they don't work. So we're not going that route. We're doing a different design. We're calling them a concrete planter box. It could have. You'll see in the 3D renderings, some of them are short, some of them are really long, with a couple trees in them, maybe a couple shrubs. So.
Now, permeable pavers, we are not, as part of this project, we are not introducing any permeable pavers, but we did get a DNR grant or we're waiting to hear about it. We're supposedly supposed to get it. The plaza area, and I don't know if you can go up to the plaza area, the corner of, the northeast
Yes.
corner.
Yeah, I'd have to go through all those
Okay,
pictures.
never mind,
again.
okay. But you'll see later. On the northeast corner of Layton and Packard, there's an area we call the plaza area. It's a concrete area and stuff like that. That does need to be redone. We are putting in permeable pavers, and what happens is the water goes through those pavers, and then there's an infiltration bed underneath that for water quality. And the looks are a lot better, but it will be funded by a DNR grant. The other thing is there's a parking lot off of Squire, just west of Packard. That also we will be doing with the permeable pavers, and that is also a Wisconsin DNR grant project, but that won't happen probably until 2016, maybe 17. Yes?
Is it the same type of papers that are on like Packard and Barnyard?
No.
Nope.
No, those pavers are actually not permeable at all. Those pavers are the old-fashioned pavers that they're in pretty bad shape. They're hard to
Those weren't
maintain.
even, yeah.
I do actually snow removal right there, and it's horrible.
They're
It's actually broken a few of my machines.
Yeah.
Those
yeah.
were pretty cheaply made pavers when they got installed. They're not a hard fired clay paver that most communities use in a right-of-way like application like that, or even in the street.
Like every snow removal, it's just like more coming out.
More coming out.
You know, you won't have to worry about that.
Right. And that's the reason why we picked the material that we did for Packard. Obviously, our DPW department has to maintain it and, and shovel and stuff like that for the owners and occupants. And it just, those, as you notice, we don't put anything, we're not putting anything but asphalt pavement in the paved area of the street. No pavers, no colored concrete and stuff, because that's all added maintenance, and we can't afford to do the maintenance. So a lot of the products that we're picking are I don't want to say maintenance free, but are lower on the maintenance end. And then we have a few pictures in 3D of the old versus the new, so we can do that. And then towards the end, we will have a 3D flyby. So this is the before picture at the intersection of Layton and Packard, and this is the after picture. This is what it should look like. I don't think next year at the end of, or this year, but next year it will look like this after the plantings are in.
I think you said that earlier, but most plantings, receptacles,
Will be in
benches is all 2016.
2016. This is the intersection of Barnard and Packard. This is the new. And when I was talking about those street light poles, if you see right here, how the signal lights, how they extend over the driving lane to make it more visible. Yes?
What's the silver area there, the light colored in the road?
Oh, it's the concrete bus pad.
That's the concrete bus pad. We're using 8-inch or 7-inch? 8-inch? Concrete.
9.
I thought it was
9-inch?
like 9-inch
Yeah.
concrete.
9-inch concrete in there, because with asphalt pavement, when the bus is very heavy, and when it slows down and stops, it actually shoves asphalt pavement when it gets really hot. So we put in concrete there.
That's a bus parking spot essentially?
It's kind of.
It's a bus stop
Bus
right
stop.
there, so
It's the
you
bus
can't really
stop.
tell on this picture, but I
I
think
don't
this
think
is,
I don't think I put a sign
That's
on
right
it.
by Labor, right?
yeah, this
Yeah,
is
that's
Labor
right.
Ready.
Yeah,
It's
right
a
in
pretty,
the corner there.
pretty active bus stop, and anytime you'll see, we put the concrete bus pads at any really active bus stop, so.
This is at Squire and Packard. And that's one of those larger bioretention areas that we're gonna have in there in the bump out. And this is near Summers, near the daycare. What you'll see right here, this is a very active bus stop, and the problem is that there's in a lot of areas in Packard, there's no separation between the parking lots and the curb, and that's very dangerous for pedestrians, and people are driving all over the place. So one thing you will find, and maybe you don't want to hear this if you're a business owner or whatever, but we are limiting driveway accesses, and we are putting barriers between parking lots and the curb, because, and this is a good example, at the Speedway station, they're driving all over, jumping the curb. We have another very active bus stop right here, and so it's essentially to create, these are curbs you can put with your pointer in here, those are all curved areas, to basically limit access to a driveway, and the driveways are gonna be wide. But it limits their driveway so that they're not driving all over the sidewalk and all over the grass and everything else.
And I just want to note one thing too. Go back one more. You'll notice a lot of these bus stops don't have benches for anyone to sit down. There's not even a trash receptacle around. And you wonder why there's garbage laying on the ground all over the place and people are sitting on the ground. So we're going to be changing that. There's going to be, as you can see, right next to the bus stop, a nice little spot to sit. So.
This is what we call the plaza area. This is the one, this is not gonna be redone as part of the Packard Avenue street reconstruction, but will be done as part of a secondary project through grants. And we're hoping like this, right in here. This is the intersection of Plankington and Packard. And at one time, Plankington, Packard up to Plankington and then down to KK was a big truck route. It was a state trunk highway. It was actually part of Highway 32. And so they had these big, wide sweep curves in them to accommodate the very large trucks. We have some trucks, we don't have a lot of trucks now using Plankington. So, and this intersection's kind of problematic from a traffic visual. So what we're doing is we're creating a normal intersection, and this will become a two-way stop with Packard going northbound and southbound. We'll have the free flow. We'll see how that works, but for right now, that's what we're going to do. On that side, you'll see the old library, and we're going to be creating that green space where that right turn lane was. This is kind of looking down south towards Lake on Packard.
I think that's our estimate.
And that's
I
it,
think so,
and now
too.
you're going to do the flyby.
We'll do play
Okay.
video. In case there was awkward silence, we had some music going. Just
It was a little awkward, so we added, pardon our choice of music.
and for a starting point, we are at Summers, looking northbound.
Can I ask you why you don't go back to Cut 8? You did say Cut 8 Avenue.
Yes,
Right.
yes.
You'll see it here.
We'll see it here. We're gonna come all the way to kind of get that.
There's more of those concrete barriers, because I know here for a fact these people that are in that parking lot literally drive up on the sidewalk a lot.
Oh, that's right.
There's more of those curbs again. I know that guy is an automotive place, and they park and drive all over the sidewalk, so that will stop.
Subliminal messaging in here too, in case you were
Here.
interested at all.
Yeah. Now you have to see, these guys always trick me and put certain characters in here. So you gotta look for the characters.
Only a couple, but
Yeah,
Did they put you right in the camp one there?
Oh, no, you gotta
there's
look for
there's people scattered throughout, but there's also
Right.
certain people.
I think that one girl on the right might be in here about 500 times. I think she
Yeah,
runs
Ryan.
really fast, walks really fast.
I can only put certain things in here. It only allowed me.
There's those planter boxes I was talking about. It's not gonna be that much of a lip that someone would trip over. It's actually a match at the sidewalk and then it comes up an inch and a half, is it? Or 2 inches?
Yeah.
I think it's 2 inches.
2 inches.
Yeah, it's a 2-inch taper.
Kind of hold the mulch in.
This is actually currently where those buildings are coming down at Squire.
Yeah.
They're in the process of being. This is Jen's Sweet Treats right at the corner.
Good cinnamon bun.
Yeah.
Yep.
Sidewalks, those slabs, those are, they're stone?
Yes.
Yeah. And there's supposed to be handicap ramps in there. That's a hard thing to do in the 3D modeling. So there normally would be a depressed area to walk down.
Every corner has this.
Yeah, everything like that.
Yeah.
There were certain limitations to what we could display. So
We're going with it's called a type 2. It means that there's 2 handicap truncated domes. It's kind of what you see that like knobby thing that's all over. And we're doing both ways for pedestrian safety. A lot of times people would cheap up and do like one right in the center, but we're doing 2 off to the sides.
It's smooth in the middle
Yes.
in order to.
yeah.
Yep. We're actually leaving it low through the entire. We're actually leaving it low through the entire middle. It's easier for a downtown plowing, cleaning up.
Planners. had to make them the fire station one.
Did they see it? Did they see it?
Uh,
No.
Jurisdiction's building.
Yes,
Yeah, I can go through his.
So there's, right now at the end of the ramp,
yeah,
at 4600,
yeah.
there is a,
Carriage walk?
No, the strip of
a strip, and
The bricks.
there's a woman who is in a wheelchair in our building.
Yes.
She comes down that ramp and then goes out to a handicap.
Yeah,
ramp. I don't see anything here.
No,
not on that.
Yes.
You
this-
won't, but on the detailed plans, and that's what I'm just gonna tell, people after this. This is to give you kind of an overall view. We will, when we meet with the contractor, which will be coming in about a month. Right now, we don't know that construction schedule, just because of the weather. But he may wanna start April 15th, and with that, yeah, we don't have it
And you're
out.
showing grass on the parkway here.
Right,
But, and that's a change from what you did.
right,
It's,
but.
yeah, it's easier to build grass
just
right
built
away. It takes
on there.
just kind of shortcuts.
But we will have another meeting, with all the business owners and whatever to get into the details of the plan, so
Okay,
that
so
if
this
you
isn't
need a carriage
necessarily
walk.
the finished product.
No, you need a
There's
carriage walk.
3 separate softwares that we use to design a
Build this
road,
thing.
and this is a new one for us.
This
I mean,
is
this,
just the
yeah.
computer one.
yeah.
Because I can tell you, the overlay district was actually extended when we built our building.
Yeah,
And they extended it to Cudahy. When we put in all of the sidewalks, et cetera, we matched the red brick.
correct, right, I know you can see it.
And, I assume if you're going to be doing different things along Packard throughout the downtown, that you're gonna do the same thing up to Cudahy. I assume it's still the downtown overlay district. You're gonna be consistent.
Right, we'll be doing some of that, but right between Plankington and Cudahy, we have to make that transition from the very urban to the residential. So we're gonna try to do that in that block, so you'll see more green and you'll see less of the stark concrete pavement.
You'll talk to us.
So, yes, we're gonna talk to each of the business owners individually, yes, on things. So we will have that meeting.
Yep.
To accommodate people. The only thing that I'm not gonna budge too much on is the driveway accesses, because
No, I
it's
agree with you on
just-
that.
it's-
I think that's,
Yeah.
I think that's
Yes.
enlightened.
Yes.
That's one of the, Waldo was in there. I don't think anybody spotted him.
Waldo. Yes.
So I'm a manager at a restaurant and I'm just worried about like how the customers are gonna get into the restaurant. Is it like being on the sidewalks and everything straight up to the front door? Like are we gonna have to close our restaurant for a couple of months? or-
No.
The only time that I just answered this question 2 times in 2 different businesses that they couldn't make it tonight. Like I said earlier, we're gonna try to do what we can. As soon as the removal process, when they're out there busting the concrete and removing it, well, obviously, you can't have people walking in the front door. But then we'll build a wood step, because it's gonna be down in grade. So we'll build like a wood step so at least people can get in. You'll have stone, they'll have to walk on gravel, so it might get a little messy if it rains, but it's part of construction. There's not anything else we can do. And then the day that they're actually pouring the concrete, right out in front of that door entrance, well, that's like the one time. So we're gonna keep in contact with every business out there to make sure that they know the day that both of those items are happening.
These guys will be permanently out on the project, so.
Yep.
so these businesses- Yes,
Why don't you do the construction at night instead of during the day when the businesses
oh, well,
are open like they do on the highway?
Well-
That way we don't lose any money, any customers.
well,
I can answer
the state has a lot bigger pot than us to spend on it, and we are paying a very pretty penny for all the night construction. Whether we have night or day, we are in a residential area, there are gonna be hammers going and whatever else. People are not gonna, and I know we have the lattice hammers, but people are not gonna wanna hear construction saws and hammers going on at 2 a.m. in the morning. You can hear that for a long distance. The other thing is night construction, I hate to say it, isn't as good as daytime construction. You have a fatigued workforce. You end up with problems and you can't necessarily call the utility companies to come in and you're held up. But this type of project, the road is going to be closed down.
What
And
about
we-
concrete though, you just pouring concrete?
No, we're not doing the
We're talking about the sidewalks
Yeah.
going into the business.
The hard part of the thing that will really stop, what should I say? Stop a lot of the people from driving through Packard Avenue is the fact that it's totally ripped up. Now, does that mean people that come to your business are gonna come to your business and we're gonna try to accommodate them as best as possible? But they're gonna have to get there from the side streets. So whether we do it at daytime or nighttime is really not going to make any difference because the road is going to be completely shut off to traffic. That section's gonna be from Plankington to Layton. Layton will remain open, and then Layton to Summers, or probably, no, Holmes will be shut off to traffic. And this is the only way. We took 2 alternate bids to see if we could do it, stage the construction, and it was very expensive, and it added 45 days to the construction. We wanna be in and out of there as quick as possible, so.
As far as how the project is being funded, the contract was awarded to start construction last June by the Common Council. About 97% of the funds are coming from city funds to fund this project. As you heard Director Lang talk about, there was a small grant that we got from the Milwaukee Metropolitan Sewage District for some of the things we've applied for some other DNR grants. But it's really because we've had a successful tax incremental financing district here for many, many years. We've been very prudent with our city finances. Therefore, we'll be able to fund this project. Otherwise, the state doesn't give enough money to us for road funds to reconstruct our main street like this. I've got a very talented and very dedicated engineering staff and Department of Public Works. They have really worked hard on this project over the last 12 months. And again, prior to me coming into office, when they did the utility work out there a couple of years ago, people said, well, Mayor, why didn't that road last for 100 years? That was a temporary road that was put in. It was supposed to get 1 year. Thank goodness we've gotten 3 years out of it. It hasn't been pretty, but we've gotten 3 years out of it. And again, we get one opportunity in our lifetime to rebuild our main street, which is what we're doing here. And we wanted to make sure that we did it right. Again, this dedicated group of people really have put their heart and soul into it. Many times they will come to me or they've made presentations to the Community Development Authority that have said, we'd like to bounce some ideas off you as we go forward with this project. And they really have done a fantastic job with it, and they've taken it to heart. Again, Ryan lives right up the block from me. He's a Cudahy High School graduate, good person on our engineering staff. Tim and Mary Jo, yeah, they don't live in the community, but guess what? They live, work, and play here every day. And this is their baby. It really has been their baby that they've been working on for several years, and we're very proud, to bring the project forward and give you an opportunity, and again, to answer questions. With that note, I have to dismiss the 2 governing bodies. You are welcome to stand here and ask questions of Mary Jo, Tim, and Ryan, but I'm going to dismiss the governing bodies because I have to have a short special meeting of the Common Council. So I'm going to take these folks out of your hair and let you work with the good people who are the hard workers that are getting everything done for you. See, I like these folks.